What's up, everybody? We're here. We're on YouTube. Got my nice Skype window up again because of, every week I think I have it figured out, and then I hit like another hurdle, like constantly. But I guess that's life, right? Isn't that what life's about? Yeah, exactly. So it's the story of life here. But hey, guys, we're live on YouTube. We made it. We're on it. And we got puppies. So yeah, I mean, this week, man, I've been enjoying finally being home, not traveling anywhere. So all I've done is just watch fucking movies. All week I've been going out to the movies, catching up on everything that I've missed or coming out. Like first, I finally saw Eli Roth's Thanksgiving, which was cool. It was cool. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, but someone pointed out to me that a friend of mine, John Valley, pointed out to me that he found it to be a better Scream movie than, like, the last two Scream movies that have come out. And that's how I kind of feel about it. And I actually really like the opening. They're not to spoil it, but I love the Black Friday bit in the beginning of it because it's even though it's such a goofy scene, it's a real thing. And I'm glad that finally, like, a movie has finally been able to poke fun at it in the right way. Yeah. Yeah. And you can. Yeah. 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 Well, well, like I said, I thought it was great. The Black Friday thing was really cool. First, I like that it was kind of the horror movie before the horror movie. Yeah, yeah, I know. I'm currently figuring it out at the moment as I read it. Well, thank you, Joe Duff, for recommending this for all of us. This movie that we're gonna watch in a bit. So I'm just gonna keep talking about movies while I figure this out at the same time. So besides Thanksgiving, which is really cool, I also saw the new Godzilla, and I literally drove all the way to New Jersey for an hour and a half away from me, just so I can see it in IMAX, which was fucking awesome. Here, do you want to try to say something, Steve?
Hi.
All right,
everyone. So you made a 2.5-hour drive? Is that what you said?
Yeah. All right, Joe W. should be able to hear everyone now, hopefully.
But that's one direction?
Well, sorry, I got distracted. So I drove an hour and a half to New Jersey in the afternoon, because they only had one screening, and it was at noon, to go hang out. It was also my friend John Valley's birthday, so, happy birthday to John.
Happy birthday.
So went out there, literally an hour and a half to go see it in IMAX, and man, it was awesome. So actually, that's like a 3-hour full day going to Jersey and back, full trip. But it was so worth it. Seeing it in IMAX, I mean, as a sound man, the sound was just fucking incredible. And, it's definitely the best Godzilla movie I've seen in fucking years. Because I always bitch about the new ones. I know you saw it, Liz, too. And I always bitch about the new movies because of how terrible the people drama is. Yet this movie is all about the people drama, but it's like the drama relates to the time period it's in, and it relates to Godzilla. Like for this to know, this is just the plot, so it's not a spoiler. But he's a Japanese kamikaze pilot who doesn't do the kamikazes, so he comes back and now he's like rejected by his country because he didn't die in the war, he didn't kill himself, and then now to get over his PTSD, he's got to kill Godzilla.
Oh wow!
It's so good, and it's like you said, James. Like it's so the stories within it's so relevant to Godzilla. What Godzilla is, what Godzilla was supposed to be, was this statement of the atomic bomb, the effects of war, and it was such a brilliant film and such a I had tears in my eyes.
Oh my god, yeah, it was so, but then just also being fucking awesome when he would like shoot whatever the Godzilla beam is called, out of his mouth and just
his heat ray.
Yeah,
so he's just mean, and he should be mean.
That's what I love too, is he's back being fucking mean, which is also great.
So does this lay inside of the Godzilla Kong universe?
No, this is its own movie, not even related to the last Japanese movie that came out like a couple years ago.
No. So what Toho has hinted to is that this is actually a prequel of some sorts to Shin.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So that was just stated during this week or the weekend. Something was stated along those lines.
I guess that could work.
Which would make sense.
Yeah. That does make sense, but yeah. Oh no, this is my favorite Godzilla movie, especially too when they bring in the old score, which is also really cool. And shout out to all the effects too, because when I look at my biggest problem with also the American Godzilla movies, besides the Millie Bobby Brown people drama that I always complain about, it's actually I hate the way it's actually shot, and not so much the CGI or how it looks. It's just how they shoot monsters. And it almost, basically Kong vs. Godzilla looks like a pro wrestling match. When you watch, this movie, every shot of Godzilla is, high angles, low angles. You're always in perspective of how he relates to everything else around him. And he feels bigger, and you feel it. And you see how he reflects. Even when he walks, the step goes up, and then you see the ground around him rise. Some people just get thrown in the air just by him stepping. And that kind of shit is really good. I think all the American movies are missing, is that kind of giant monster perspective.
They want to go for Showa era.
Yeah.
Where it is like a giant. It's a wrestling match.
Yeah.
Showa era Godzilla films are just like Godzilla versus.
He does drop kicks. I've seen it.
Here we go. We're going around. Or Godzilla versus, or everybody versus King Ghidorah, and we're throwing him around and do it. And here we go. And they want. I don't understand why that's put into these new ones, and with Wingard in particular, it's made to look like that, like the wrestling matches, but it's shot like a video game.
Yeah,
right.
And that's
that's where it loses its soul.
Yeah, and you don't really understand how big and destructive these creatures are doing when they're destroying a city. When you see fucking Godzilla destroying this city, and -1, it is brutal, and you're terrified of this thing. It's amazing. I love it. It also works too. The director of that movie, I don't know the guy's name, but he's also a VFX artist himself. So he did most of the shots himself in the movie, which is also kind of unheard of for big movies.
But isn't that I would think that is such a benefit, and it sounds like it is, because then as you are, like you're saying, as you're planning your shots, as you're doing your shot list, and you're prepping where the effect is going to come in, the person who's going to do it knows how to place set deck, people.
Yeah, how to shoot it, Be all right, you get these plates for this and this, and then figure out, knows how he can combine it all later. So it's amazing. It's still out there, so go see it. I know I talked up so much, and I think my brother actually went, because New York only had IMAX screening at 9 a.m., And I made my brother go see it at 9 a.m.
At 9 a.m.
And it's not a short movie either. Just want to point that out. But it's great. It's a really good movie, man. Actually, that's probably my favorite I've seen. And then the next day, I got hit up by our friend Amy Kuge. I finally got to see Cannibal Mukbang for the first time. I worked on that movie, 2 summers ago now, and I actually have a screener, but I didn't watch it yet, and because I don't know, especially with our movies in our sphere, like even Were Deer, Cuck Island, I refuse to watch it at a certain point because I want to. I'm a theater guy. I need to see it on the big screen with everyone. So to be able to see Cannibal Mukbang finally on the big screen for the first time with everybody was really awesome. It was really cool. It was great to actually because also very often, man, on a lot of things, I never get to hear my sound. If I usually work a job, that's it. I usually never talk to these people again, or they'll hit me up, a couple months later, work on something else. I'll never see whatever it is. So it was great to hear my sound and actually talk to the sound mixer of it who talked up my sound. I was like, yeah. He was like, well, this sound was hard. And I was like, well, I didn't work that day, so.
That's hysterical.
Nice.
So, I've seen a lot of, they're having a lot of success with Cannibal Mukbang.
Yeah, getting around. So, good for Amy.
Hitting a bunch of festies, all of that fun stuff.
You can kind of see the poster above my Stormtrooper right there.
Nice.
You can squint and look at it.
Yeah. Awesome. See it.
So that's there. And then that same day, when I went back to also in New Jersey. So I went to New Jersey twice to see movies back to back. So then I went back to Manhattan, and so I finally got to see the new John Woo movie, Silent Night. I don't know if any of you guys are John Woo fans at all. I
haven't gone yet though, but I am for sure. I'm a hard boiled and the killer type gal.
I fucking love Hard Boiled, and also Hard Target. It's one of my favorites. And Face
Ooh,
Off.
yeah.
So good. Actually, I mean, if you ever watch Portrait of Payback, there's a lot of John Woo thing. I try to sneak into it. I don't know if we do it as well or as cool, but it's there. But yeah, and this movie is really cool because it's a whole action movie with zero dialogue for an entire movie. And just like that concept, the beginning of it was a little strange. It was kind of actually hard to get used to in the beginning, but then you just get into it and you don't even realize there's no dialogue. And I don't know, it didn't have. This is Liz, you're the big John Woo fan here. It didn't have a lot of the classic John Woo stuff. There were no doves.
What?
Yeah, there was one bird.
You can't have a John Woo film without doves.
I know, that's what I'm saying. There was one bird. It was like a parakeet, but no doves. And only one time did someone double gun it. One time.
Wow.
Which is, very rare for a John Woo movie.
What are the shots called where they're it's a steady cam and it's all one.
Oh, like a dollar. Oh, like the long shots. Yeah, they did a lot of that.
Did it have those?
Yeah, it had a whole long staircase scene. It's actually I find really interesting because John Woo innovated action in a lot of ways. A lot of movies took from which eventually leads to John Wick, which kind of has its own style, which also took a lot from John Woo. To now this John Woo movie making a John Wick style kind of action movie. It's this weird full circle of kind of action movies because it feels very much more like John Wick than it does a classic John Woo movie. But still, some of the stunts are great. They had an opening stunt of this CGI car, and I was like, man, I hope that's not this fucking whole movie. I'm gonna be bummed. And then it wasn't. And they have some sick fucking car stunts that are just practical, real. It's a cool movie. Definitely my least favorite of the three I've seen, but
so if I mean it's not necessarily silent era, but it's all picture telling.
Yeah,
story,
and there is sound. There's diegetic sound, you hear the world around him, and the movie starts off with him his son gets murdered, he gets shot in the throat, so then he's now it's his revenge spree of him training for a whole year until Christmas time, because it was Christmas when he got shot. So he trains for a whole year until Christmas Eve. They have a scene where he marks on the calendar, kill them all on Christmas Eve. And then, And there's just, but the sound's amazing. That's really actually besides all the cool acting, it's really the sound that I was like, this is such a cool idea for a movie. I would love to see it again done this way. Because there was sound, but it's all like literally just either music or it's like the world sound, or you hear mutterings of people when you see them talking like with a window in front of them. You know what I mean? So you can't ever understand them, but you get what they're saying. It's really interesting, and I think that's the really cool part about it. So I think it's worth watching. It's a little slow. I think it could use a little more action, but definitely cool fucking movie. And then the last movie I finally got.
She really did spend like a week in the theater.
Yeah, because it's been a whole month. I haven't seen shit. I paid for this movie pass. I gotta use it. I had a whole month for not using it. And I finally saw the new Marvel movie, The Marvels, which is probably my least favorite that I've seen out of everything. I saw that today. It was whatever.
That's a shame.
It was fine.
I want to see it just for the cats.
Yeah, the cats are cool, and there's a
point.
big cat scene. I can tell you that much. The cats actually have a big plot point, which is, it wasn't actually, I don't think it's as bad as people are really putting it at. It's not as bad as Thor: Love and Thunder, but it's fine.
That's like a high watermark for a bad movie, is Love and Thunder.
Yeah, exactly.
It was not good.
No.
That one was not good.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I can't say I finished it, I don't think.
Yeah, I saw it once in the theaters. And I love Goofy Thor, but I don't know what that was. That was just another level. But this one was fine. It, like, I don't know. There's just some things, I don't know. Like they have a thing where they all switch places when they use their powers, but then sometimes they can use their powers. They don't really, like, there's no real reason of what causes that, which is also weird. The villain's also pretty generic and boring, but I don't know. It was fun enough. It also was an hour and 40, which for a Marvel movie, I was like, oh, that's nice. I can watch an hour and 40 minutes of this and not like the normal 2 hour, 15 minutes that, a normal Marvel movie is.
For sure.
I think they should start getting back to that, in all honesty, man. I think there's starting to be a little bit of a turn to that. Not everything is a 2 hour and 30-minute epic.
No, I agree.
Know what I mean?
Like with Guardians, I actually think it earns that like a lot. Guardians 3. But then you watch, I think like even Thor: Love and Thunder is like pretty long.
Yeah.
It's like doesn't need to be at all. Like not at all.
Fans for that anymore.
Yeah.
And if you're not Martin Scorsese, why are you doing this? It just doesn't make sense to me. Give me a crisp 90 minutes and entertain
And
me.
especially with Marvel movies, if you're going to make a Saturday morning cartoon anyway, it doesn't need to be 2.5 hours. That's why I think I didn't mind the Marvels, because it was just a kind of a big Saturday morning special, and it was only an hour and a half, so fine.
And I think the thing there is it's like, okay, yeah, sure, Guardians 3, because we're sort of ending an era, right? Earns a little longer. The first couple of Avengers movies earns a little longer. That's where we're tying stuff together. But as we're taking that trip, as we're headed down that path, keep it at $1.45, man.
Ant-Man doesn't need to be over 2 hours.
Is solid.
Yeah, you don't need to make an Ant-Man movie over 2 hours. Come on.
No, you didn't. No. No. That is arguably too much Paul Rudd.
So that was every movie I've seen. It feels great to be back in cinema, man. I love the theater, love movies. I'm glad at least I haven't watched anything totally awful.
Have you seen The Killer yet on Netflix?
Oh, the Michael Fassbender, the Fincher movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Killer. I actually did like it a lot. It felt like the slow version of John Wick. Like the more drama kind of slow version. And it was actually really short for a Fincher movie. I actually wish
very short for a Fincher
Yeah,
film,
I
which
actu-
I actually enjoyed.
See, I wish it was a little longer. Like I wish, because without spoiling it, what I love most about Fincher's movies, like the third act's always, it's like long and kind of drags, but then the third act's usually so big in a way that it kind of reveals a lot, and there's always something fucked up or something happens. I just feel like it didn't, the third act didn't totally blow me away like a normal Fincher movie would, If that makes sense.
Yeah. It didn't go full nuts, but it went on pretty. It was pretty full on, and Fassbender's fucking.
Oh, he's
amazing.
Yeah,
Fassbender goes full nuts. He's gone full nuts in a couple of movies.
He goes
with that one Shane?
naked
Where
in the
is that?
shower.
Yep. Oh, see, there you go. Full nuts once again.
Fincher loves to put people naked in the shower. Isn't that where like Ben Affleck's also like naked in the shower? In Gone Girl.
He does. I just saw him on some clip that somebody had posted, like a TikTok clip where it was just part of an interview, and he says something like, "People are perverts, and I make films for perverts," and he just goes, and I'm like, "Yes, you do, sir."
You do. Definitely do. And also, I didn't realize, too, the opening shot of that movie was actually shot in, like, 4 different ways. Like, that opening shot where he's, like, looking through the people in the window or whatever. So, like, the people in the window were shot completely on a soundstage. And then they went to, like, that front of that hotel building, and they said they filmed with 8 cameras, 8 of them, to get all these different angles of this building. And then one, like, special, like, lens camera to do, like, the scope shots. And then shot with Fassbender on another completely different set. And then just combined it all, like, in post. And you watch that shot, it looks flawless. You wouldn't even, like...
It does.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So.
That opening shot and that opening sequence of events that sets everything off is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And all set to the Smiths.
Yeah. I do love his soundtrack. I do love that Fassbender just has this, like, soundtrack that plays with him the whole time. It's just really
great.
good. So, yeah, it's a cool movie. I dig it. But Liz, how's it going? I know you just saw Godzilla 2.
Yeah, we took the little ones. We didn't take the older ones. We took the 2 little kids to see Godzilla, which was hilarious because one of them can read and one of them can't.
Yeah, how did that work with all the
knew
subtitles?
What we were in for.
Yeah.
But it was like interpreting Japanese to my 6-year-old stepson. So every time somebody, and he's Southern as hell, and people could hear him and what they say? What they talking about? What Godzilla gonna do? And I was just dying. I was like, Grayson, just calm down. I'll tell you as it goes.
At least it's like an easier story to follow, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's like I said, he's trying to get over his PTSD by killing Godzilla.
It was so great to be in a theater full of people, too.
Yeah, I was surprised how many people showed up at my theater. I said I went to 12 p.m. in a random theater in New Jersey. And it wasn't, like, sold out, but it was still, like, packed. I was like, damn.
And we were on, we went Saturday evening, and it was completely packed, and it was great to experience it and hear people's reactions to Godzilla coming on screen, like people just gasping, little kids being there and like being so excited to see it, like seeing the younger generation appreciate it. And they're also going to extend it out another week or so for the theatrical run, which I love.
Probably because it's doing so well. I heard it was actually doing really well.
Mm-hmm.
So, because it outbeat all the movies that I just talked about. You know, box
all
office.
Hail Soho.
Yeah, for reals. They should make more. Forget this. God, did you see the new Godzilla trailer too? The Godzilla X Kong or whatever?
I'll take everything that I can get with kaiju, with any kind of whatever they're called, titans. They're not kaiju, they're titans.
Yeah, titans.
Whatever. But I'll take whatever. You know, I'm watching the Monarch
yeah, I'm watching
show.
it too.
Like, just give me all the giant monsters. Even if it's dumb, I'll take it. But, I mean, it's really, it's a great time to be alive and be able to witness all of this.
To be a Godzilla fan right now. I mean, I was looking up before, after I saw -1, I was like, so I know there was a 2014 Godzilla movie, but what was the Godzilla movie before that? And it was 2004.
Oh,
really?
Matthew Broderick?
No, that was like 99. There was like another Toho movie. I think it was maybe Final Wars actually. But there wasn't a one again until 2014, and now we have fucking like all these Godzilla movies, which is like insane to think about. You know, having almost like a 10-year gap without anything. Godzilla. Yeah, here we are with literally a year full of 3 different Godzilla pieces we can watch right now, which are insane. And Monarch's a cool show. I'm only on episode 2, and I'm digging it. I'm digging it actually probably more than I did the movies.
Me too. And the story is getting me in deep, and I love the cutbacks and and time period.
And I love me some Kurt Russell. Love me some Kurt Russell.
His son looks exactly fucking
Yeah.
like him. And it's crazy. Like when you see him and the things, I'm waiting for him to like have a Kurt Russell saying, and he hasn't done it yet. For him to say something like, "Listen, lady," you know, or something. I'll be like, wow, he said the thing.
Yeah.
But he hasn't done that yet.
Well, besides Godzilla, how's life hanging?
Besides Godzilla, life is hanging really well. Going through the motions, doing gigs. I will be on Horror Ramblings podcast. That's recording on Saturday.
Oh,
I've got a couple other podcasts to guest spot that I've got lined up, and
yeah, you do so many podcasts. People are like, James, you do a lot of podcasts. Liz, you do a lot of podcasts.
I just like to fucking talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is this Horror Ramble podcast? I never heard of that one.
Horror Ramblings. It's Stephen White, and he talks about newer films, talks about older films, and they're gonna have me on to talk about And All Through the House, which is my favorite episode of Tales from the Crypt. So it works out swimmingly.
Yeah, that sounds sick. That sounds cool.
Is that's one of the first ones? No.
Mhm.
It is, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's season 1?
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. That broke the whole series. Is it not
yeah.
the first one?
It's the first episode,
The very
and
first. Yeah.
it's based on a EC story, but you know they tried to do that with the film too, and have that segment in the film too, but it doesn't quite work as well as it works with Larry Drake. So
Right.
I'm stoked. I'm stoked to talk about that, and I'm stoked to talk to some other folks. It's just it's been good.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Nicole, how's it
Hi.
hanging with you? I know we're talking a lot about movies. What have you been up to? How's life in the big city?
I know my life is so different now because I've just been like, as I mentioned last episode, I'm looking to like kind of change my life a lot. I'm learning code, so I have just kind of been like devoting all my free time to like learning code. So I signed up for Code Academy. For anyone that's interested, I definitely recommend it. I got a really big Black Friday deal though. It was like 50% off. I'm not sure if they're still running that, but it's like Cyber Week or something like that, so they might be.
So you're gonna be like developing apps and shit?
Yeah, or like front end like website development.
Oh, that's so cool.
Would be something I'd want to do. Yeah, so it's been like my head's kind of just been in that. Like I feel like I'm almost just like back in almost like a school mode, I guess, where I'm like just really trying to learn this like new thing.
Have you ever seen the animated show Code Monkeys?
Code Monkeys, no. Should I check it out?
You should. I guess we should watch this show at some point, but you know, you're leaving. But yeah, it's
sorry.
you know, comedy sitcom.
I'll come back for that.
And it's like an animated kind of.
For that episode.
Yeah, it's like an animated, you know, like bit kind of animation about coding and working in a code place. But it's also weird.
No, okay.
I think it was
I
Comedy
see it and
Central
get
that
afraid
made
or
it.
not, but maybe I'll
Maybe
still
I'm
check
wrong.
it out just so I know what I could be in for potentially. So yeah, I mean, my like free time has mostly been dedicated to that. I've also been watching a lot of Eastbound and Down.
Oh,
Liz,
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Liz, I saw you posted that in your Instagram story. James and Ben, have you watched that?
I watched the first season. I don't think I finished the second season.
I own it all on DVD. I've had that for a hot minute. Yeah,
Nice.
Eastbound and Down's a great show.
It's
Danny
so funny. I
McBride.
watched like it here and there when it first came out, like very casually, and finally sat down from top to bottom. The other day, didn't realize it. Like a whole season just like ran by me. The last one, so good. So a lot of my time has been dedicated to like shows as well as like coding. But yeah, Eastbound and Down was the one I really devoted my time to.
And that's a good one to do it. That's when he's like the baseball player, right? And then he's like
Yes.
fucked up and he comes back to his small town.
Yes, and it's so good. And I also just recently watched Righteous Gemstones. Have
Oh,
you all
hell
seen
yeah.
that?
Oh, yeah.
Fuck
Too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Love that
Another
show.
great one. I like Eastbound and Down more, but Righteous Gemstones was also
I thought the last season of Righteous Gemstones was so good. Not that I didn't like the second season, because I did like the second season, but the third season I thought it was just, I don't know, just another. I thought it was
The
way,
Redeemer
yeah.
just brought that all in.
The Redeemer.
I don't know if y'all know this or not, but I'm actually married to Kenny Powers.
Oh, that's right.
With
You messaged that to me on Instagram. I forget exactly what you said, but he's like, yeah, you're like, he's basically Kenny Powers. Like,
You just have a Redeemer in your backyard somewhere?
I probably do. I'm just not aware of it.
I like Danny McBride a lot. He's so funny. So that's like been a lot of my, yeah.
The other one in sort of that HBO Danny McBride series is Vice Principal.
Yeah,
I that one off too the other day.
Yeah, I haven't watched Vice Principals actually.
So it took me 3 episodes to really get into it, but then by the end of the second season, you're like, what the fuck did I just watch? It's for me, it was like the first couple episodes I almost checked out. Like, I legit almost.
Yeah, I think I did the kind of same. That's why I haven't. I think I did try to watch it, but I don't remember it actually at all.
I think it's fucking hilarious. I love Walton Coggins.
Oh, he's
And
great.
him
Oh, he's amazing.
Against Danny McBride is just perfection.
So good. But yeah, give it a full 3, and you'll be hooked. You'll be hooked.
I'll definitely go back to it. I like hit pause on it, but I definitely, because I just like Danny McBride's sense of humor, and I like what he does with HBO, so I will probably vibe with it for that reason alone. So I'll go back to it for sure and keep watching it. That's been my life lately, honestly. Been a lot of like those things. So can't complain. All good.
Well,
I have to tell you too that I'm getting schooled on my Tales from the Crypt knowledge that All Through the House was the second episode of the first season.
Who's schooling you?
I forgot about the Walter Hill.
Is it in the chat? I can't see the chat today.
Huh?
Who's schooling you on it?
My kid.
Oh, he's just yelling in the background. Doesn't that make you a proud mom, though?
Oh yeah, big time. Big time. I love them.
Ben Johnson, how's it hanging? How's it hanging on your end?
And let me tell you, no, it's been a it's been a week.
I know I got to brighten your day a little bit when I sent you our BTS video the other day.
Oh my god, that like literally, it did. It brought such a level of joy to me. I only want you to send me videos of Bergio smacking you with dildos from this point forward.
Out of context, for sound wise, I decided to record a lot of my own Foley for Portrait
So
of
no
Payback.
context. No context. John just smacks you with dildos and send it to me. Like, that's it. Nobody else needs to know what's going on.
But I had to be shirtless in my room, and I was like, John, just do it. Just slap.
That's so funny.
So you just hold it a microphone, slap me across the chest. But yeah, there's anybody I should send that to. I knew Ben Johnson wants to see some shirtless boys get slapped with dildos.
I do. But no, I mean, in all actuality, what? You're recording Foley for...
Portrait. Yeah. And that was great. I've heard a lot of fun sounds. That was the last thing I did, because I was like, I didn't want to get slapped. I also had to throw myself on the floor a few times. So I kind of beat the shit out of myself that day.
Which is, like, it's got to be a level of catharsis in that, right?
Yeah, also I had to, like, punch myself, too. Like, John's just, like, at his computer watching me on the couch, just, like, hitting myself in the chest, like, over and over again.
Do you remember when we did Barlympics?
Yes.
And the Foley of just me smacking my ass.
And it only made it. And also, I remember waking up Connor too. Connor being literally, it had to be like 4 a.m., 3 a.m., and Connor's just dead asleep on the couch. I'm like, yo, Connor. He's like, what? I was like, I need you to just slap your butt real quick. So he's like literally asleep, laying down on the couch, and his hand's here, and he's just asleep, just smacking himself.
And
I only used a quarter of it. I'm so mad. I didn't have enough time to finish editing it, so I didn't get to even use all that Foley.
We didn't need to wake him up, but if I remember correctly, you and I had a conversation and we were delirious, and it seemed like the right thing to do was like, well, it's Connor's ass getting smacked. It must be his ass. His ass has to make the sound.
I think he was wearing the same pants, too. I think that was my argument. Of like, he's got the same pants on, so that'd be the right sound with that pants.
Oh, my God. But it's been an interesting week. I went and I had a couple of doctor's appointments, got my eyes checked. Loretta ate my old glasses, so she ate one pair fully, and like they were not salvageable. My other pair, what I used to call my good glasses, she ate, and I've been wearing them, but like you can see teeth marks in the lenses, chewed up both the earpieces, like they're gone. They're like daddy gone, and that's what I've been wearing for the last like month and a half, 2 months, something like that, if not longer. So I finally went, got my eyes checked. Everything's good there. Got my script. Got 3 pair of glasses ordered, and I am stoked. 2 of them are being put away for when she inevitably eats the first pair. I can just start swapping them out.
You just have like a fake pair. You know, that she can target.
Oh my God, that I just wear outside with like no lenses, nothing in it.
Yeah.
And do they eat shoes too? Gojira would eat my glasses and ate my shoes, and I would be like, boy, like what the? I had never had a dog just want to eat shoes. We had to get we have a closet in the hallway here. We have to get a shelving system to put our shoes up when we got home, so Gojira wouldn't eat them.
Do you know, like, it's not so much. It was shoes with her when she was a little bit younger, when she was more of a puppy. She's about to be a year old. She's about to be a year old. We got her in like mid-February, mid to late February, but she was born sometime in December. So we got her at like 2 months or whatever. And for the first few months, like you'd have to pull them shoes out of her teeth. Now she's gotten to a point to where she doesn't really chew up our shit. And weirdly, both she and Leroy this year have left the Christmas tree alone, which is
look at that.
Absolute shocker.
Maturity.
Absolute shocker. Because normally there would be ornaments on the floor. But not yet, not this year.
I saw you got some cool new, you got some Star Wars ones, right? I just saw, you sent me.
So I sent James one in particular, and it's new, brother. That's vintage. That's like mid-90s.
Well, I never seen it before. You sent it to me. I thought it was like a new thing that you got.
That is vintage. That is vintage. It's it's one of those ornaments that you plug into the lights, you know. But it's Darth Vader in his TIE fighter, and the cockpit lights up. So you plug it into the light, and then I've got this little light up Darth Vader.
Yeah, there's like a little Vader inside it, which is sick.
Do you know where I think they missed the ball though?
What?
They should have put like a little fucking Santa hat on him.
That'd have been funny. Yeah,
I think they missed the ball there, but whatever. That's okay. The ones though that I posted are my also vintage. Early 90s we got these. It's the Simpsons family. It's all the Simpsons.
I have those if they're the ones I'm thinking of. Mine came from Media Play.
Like Homer's on the sled, Bart's ice skating, Marge's ice skating.
But there's more than just the family. They have a lot of. I've got Apu. I've got Mo. I've got Barney.
You got Chief Wingham.
And I've got Nelson, and I've got Ralph.
Nice.
All those came from Media Play
Ralph,
too, back
awesome.
in the day.
Oh, how much do you miss Media Play?
Every fucking day.
Wait, what's Media Play?
Old.
Well, what is this?
Gather round, children, and we'll tell you the tale.
Oh my God.
When we were kids. Back in, I'm turning into Grandpa Simpson right now.
Back in my day.
We tied an onion to our belt. That was the style at the time. Pictures, nickels had pictures of bees on them. Give me 5 bees for a quarter, they'd say. Media Play was the place that we went to get physical media, to get shirts that were any type of cool. They even had like Tony Hawk shirts at Media Play and stuff like that. Bones Brigade, stuff like that.
Awesome.
And then they also had posters. What else did they have, Ben?
Like everything.
So it was like a pop culture kind of center.
Huh?
Like a pop culture of stuff kind of center.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, but it boiled down to like Liz said, any type of media that was consumable at the time. So they had a massive book section.
Yeah.
They had and it was stuff that you couldn't find at like Barnes and Noble too. So they did sort of like dip into, like, if I remember correctly, they had a pretty large cult movie section.
So that's where I found out about cult films, was Media Play. Do you remember the old book Cult Flicks and Trash Picks?
I have it, yeah.
I do too. And it came from Media Play. And that's like, we didn't have internet, so we had that book. And each section would tell you about, these films in this row, A to Z. And you'd find these cool films, research them, find them, go to the video store and ask about them and watch them.
Oh my God. So like they, it's weird because like it felt like such an institution down here. It wasn't even part of the mall. Now that store is like a giant Goodwill or something.
Yep.
It's like a huge Goodwill warehouse, which, I mean, Goodwill is questionable, really, if you do your research on them. But like it's like a Walmart superstore of just DVDs, CDs.
Wow.
Like they had, it was the one place in town where you could get, or at least close to me, where you could get what is it, the special Japanese release of whatever record you were looking for, right? And it was just the coolest store. Like I loved Media Play.
So when by me at the mall, we had a store. I think it was FYE.
It's like
one of those in the mall.
Yeah.
It's very similar to an FYE.
Just on a bigger scale.
Oh.
Yeah.
That sounds
We
awesome.
were pulling out stuff out of our drawers the other day, and I found, just cleaning out clothes, getting rid of stuff, and I found an old Twin Peaks Fire Walk With Me shirt that I bought from Media Play. That fucker on like Etsy or one of those things, like $500. And I just kept, there all that stuff I just kept up with because I'm a hoarder. And
now you can make some money. Yeah.
Now I'm vintage and retro.
Make some money off it, take advantage of it.
Hey, man, if only I had kept intact so many of my old shirts. Like that's where I feel guilty, is either I've lost them, gotten rid of them, or cut them up into something else. Like whatever. What's the word I'm looking for? I held nothing in that high of regard.
We didn't know our shirts were going to be $5,000 in 2023.
Had no.
We didn't know that.
No clue. But yeah. Other than that, man, it's been fairly mellow. I started a good fire the other day. I was very excited about that. We had the deck done. So everybody knows that, but they left all that scrap wood, right? So it has to go somewhere, and
burn it.
I'm not gonna take 40 trips to the dump to get rid of the bad wood. So I just lit a nice fire the other day. Spent about 3.5, 4 hours just piecemealing stuff into it, because I can't let it get too big because my burn pile is fairly close.
Where do you burn it? Just like at your house, like in the front of your house?
Yeah, bro. You've seen my burn pile. It's right there. It's sort of in that back corner,
Okay, yeah.
It's very close to the house and very close to the fence. So I have to like piecemeal shit into it so it doesn't get too big. I keep my hose in a bucket by me. So I started that process. and I've been peeling out some good wood because I've got a couple of projects coming up. I'm working on Thong Girl the musical.
Yeah.
Which will be next August.
Yay!
3 days in Nashville at the. Oh God, they just did a piece on it on the news. The theater. It's not the. It rhymes with Moody. The Luby Theater. Luby? Something like
the
that.
Lube Theater.
It's like an actual like stage. Named after a guy locally who did a lot.
So Thong Girl's gonna be at the Lube Theater.
At the Lube.
The Lube
I know,
Theater.
I know. I'm like, oh my god, how fitting.
The guy that it's named after actually did like a whole lot for like civil rights in Nashville, and they're known for doing
lubricating.
Sure, lots of lubricating stories. Loomy, it's the Loomy, I think. But the guy, right now, they're running a series on, or they're doing a play on African American jockeys from the Civil War time, right? Who were actual jockeys, and what they would do is they would pay their way out of slavery from their winnings from these fucking horse races. Like, it's crazy.
That's awful.
It's awful, but I mean, it's also at the same time, that's a pretty amazing part of history that you could do that at the Kentucky Derby. Buy yourself out.
Wild.
Pretty exceptional. It's wild stuff. But the theater that is allowing that stage production is also supporting Thong Girl the musical, which I think is great. But
that's amazing.
I'm pulling some good wood out for a couple of stage pieces for Glenn, who I'm seeing tomorrow, and then this coming Saturday, I too have a show that I'm guesting on. I'm going back to sit with the Eads boys.
Oh, the Friendly Man.
Friendly Man, baby, yes.
Those dudes seem awesome.
Oh, Liz, you have to go.
Yeah.
You have to talk with them at some point. They are a riot, and we're talking to Richard Stanley again.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We're
So, I've listened to the discussions with the Mr. Stanley. I know of everything that's transpired, with him, obviously.
I don't know I don't even know who this guy is.
So, Mr. Stanley treated some women pretty terribly and got called out for it.
Ooh.
And he, for lack of better words, got canceled.
Yeah.
In that time, because it was pretty serious stuff. That said, do we separate the art from the artist? We go back to that, because do I just totally disregard Dust Devil? Do I just totally disregard Hardware? Because those movies are wonderful. Same thing with Roman Polanski. He was a pedophile. Repulsion is a wonderful film. How do we separate the art from the artist? Hearing him talk, though, with you guys kind of gives him some humanity.
So
does that make sense?
It does. It really does, because like there's a thing, and it's there's another weird level to him that, like, and you don't want to disregard things too, right? You never want to disregard,
because it's terrible.
But at the same time, like, to get into some of this witchy stuff with this guy is bananas.
Witchy stuff?
Huh?
Is he a witch?
Bro, he is like, he subscribes to the notion of like the old gods. He's steeped in Lovecraftian sort of stuff. He's steeped in sort of like chaos magic in general.
Yeah.
That's what I'm steeped in.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I like listening to him talk brings that humanity in him to me. Like, he's not just this terrible. I don't know how to judge him, and I'm not here to judge him, but it, like, from the things that were stated about him then, and then hearing him talk now, it's like, wow, this guy actually has a brain. Like he's not just this terribly angry artist that's treating women terribly and disposing of women in a terrible way. Like, he's actually here, and hearing him get into conversation with you guys is actually quite wonderful.
Yeah,
and I appreciate it. Have you ever seen The Color Out of Space?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that the Nicolas Cage
that's
movie?
Richard Stanley. That whole film has just been pushed to the side. Spectravision's just let it go. No more advertising, no more nothing. And that's because of what happened with Richard Stanley. That was his big comeback. That was his big.
Yeah, I think I watched it on Shudder, actually.
Island of Dr. Moreau fiasco. This was his way of coming back into the mainstream and making another piece of art, and he did.
That movie was pretty good.
All crumbled.
I did like that movie, actually. Yeah, that movie was pretty cool. Yeah, I expected it to be a lot easier.
You watched the documentary though about the making of Dr. Moreau?
I have, and if y'all have not,
is this the Marlon Brando
on one of the streaming services? Because we watched it on a free.
It might have
been Tuesday.
This is the Marlon Brando movie you're talking about, right? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, it is a mind fuck.
Because all I know is the horror stories of him on set, of how he, like, didn't want to be there, and then he got too fat, and they had to just put him in, like, a white, like, dress thing so he'd cover him up.
Oh, no. Oh, no, my friend. No, it goes
way deeper.
Goes so much wilder and weirder with Brando. It's not so much that he didn't want to be there, it's that he was phoning in everything. And, like, what he was doing was either trolling or informing character, and it's really impossible to determine which it really was, right? Which it really, really was. But Stanley, his story throughout that, like, the whole fucking thing starts basically, he wanted to do it, he'd been wanting to do it, he starts to get in these conversations with people, and literally as he's getting ready to set up, this should tell you what, like, how much this man is bought into what he does as far as, like, magic, as far as ritual, as far as, like, ceremony and stuff. He had a friend who was essentially, to put it in the most basest of terms, who was conducting ritual, who was casting spells in England, while Richard Stanley was getting ready to go into these meetings in Los Angeles at, like, the same time, right? To start to try and work some of this stuff out. But something goes wrong. And then, like, the doc goes into really insane detail. And it's all stuff you can find. You absolutely should watch it. But the best story from it is once he gets booted, at a certain point he gets fired. So he goes off into the Australian wilderness by himself. He just straight up pieces out from the compound where they're shooting, goes out, lives in the fucking wilderness. I want to say it's maybe 4 weeks later. Like, they paused filming, but because they had built all these structures and because they built all these things and the studio was paying for it, they decide they're going to continue to shoot with a different director. Well, 2 dudes on the crew, like a couple of fucking grips and one of the VFX artists, are out in a Jeep one day, and they hear these Aboriginals making, like fucking around on, like, a didgeridoo or something. You know what I mean? Again, probably, I say fucking around a didgeridoo. They're probably getting into very real ceremony at that point in time. I shouldn't be so dismissive. However, Richard Stanley is with them. These guys bring him back. They bring him back to set, but if he'd shown up, like, he was going to get arrested. There was all this stuff with the studio. So what do? They sneak him in the dead of night, put him in this crazy fucking makeup, right? And then he stays the rest of the time on set as like a mole inside of his own movie, inside of what was initially.
Was he
his
still
vision.
directing the movie?
No, just as this agent of fucking chaos now inside of what was supposed to be his film.
Oh my god!
And again, the stories, the allegations against him, all of this stuff. But and again, you can't dismiss. And I guess you have to sort of look at stuff like that as part of story. Do you know what I mean? It's and that's the challenge. And a lot of that stuff in many eyes is unforgivable, and it may not be necessarily. I guess the big thing there is it may not necessarily be for us to forgive or to whatever. It's you go into conversations with a knowledge base, and then you conduct them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I guess. I don't know. It is a.
I don't know either, man.
Crack,
Yeah.
He's someone that I would love to actually just be able to sit down with and just talk to. I would love to be able to just pick that man's brain and just know, what were you thinking in this time? Why did you do these things? Do you feel bad about doing these things? Are you repeating these things? Are you still doing these things? And I just want to, because I want to, it sucks to want somebody to be redeemable.
Right.
But you want somebody like that to be redeemable because they put out such wonderful art, but maybe they're not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty bananas. So it's and that's the other thing. I doing some quick Reddit looking here now too. There's a post saying that he was cleared of some misconduct stuff, and then of course there are the posts from his former partner who's talking about various types of abuse and all of that. So it's a tough nut to crack. It's a really tough nut to crack.
So when does this new episode go out?
I don't know.
I can't wait.
I don't know when it's going to go out. I know that we record on Saturday, though.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, knowing the Friendly Men schedule, inside of 3 weeks to a month. Yeah. But that's, that's the thing. In talking with these directors, even lovable, who has not the greatest rep. But
I can tell you some personal stories of that fella, but I won't here.
Oh.
But I do know of some instances in the film festival circuit that I've worked in. That were not so great.
I cannot wait to talk with him. We need to have an offline, because I've been touting him as my new best friend.
But that's another thing, though. Somebody's behavior in that respect, or in a business respect, might be completely different from what their behavior is as a friend or as an artist,
Arguably, one of the nicest people I have ever talked to.
See?
Strangely so. Yeah. It's a difficult dance that we do. And sometimes we just
It's a difficult boogie that people do, would you say?
We just have to boogie. That's what I was saying, yeah. Exactly what I was saying.
Speaking of people we don't know if are redeemable or not.
Yeah, Boogie.
I think he's a great American hero. Done.
Even though he's not
the show's over. I mean, we have found
I would say
America's
not a great American hero. Done. Okay, there we go. Show's over.
He's also not an American hero because he was made in Argentina. So.
Well, made in Argentina, but very clearly American.
I mean, there's
very clearly Americanized caricature.
Well, so my research that I've done, it actually comes off a comic book that existed somewhere in Latin America, and it was made as a parody of this kind of American culture. So it just exists to make fun of that whole point of what it is. Which I think is...
Then it wins.
Gotcha. Then the creator of the comic passed away before it was completely written. So these fellas tried to keep it, from what I read, they tried to keep it in the same vein as the comic strip You know, just as crass, just as
Yeah, I mean,
harsh,
I've never read any of
and
the
do it
comic strips.
justice.
Yeah, and I think we still got Joe Duff in the chat if he's still there. No, this was recommended by Joe Duff. He said, he texted me and he was like, you guys should talk about Toonular. I watched it once, liked it, and then I went back and watched it 3 more times in the same day.
Thank you, Joe Duff.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, so, I don't know, I'm going to start with you, Nicole. I mean, so, obviously, you don't seem to enjoy Boogie so much.
No, I didn't. I don't get, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a parody. I don't know if it's, like, satirical. I just, like, whatever it was doing just did not land with me. I thought it was disgusting. Sorry, Joe. I wanted to like it because Joe recommended it. I was just like, why? I was just like, why do I, like, care about this guy that just, like, slaps women in the face? Like, I just don't. Like, I'm just not gonna ever choose to watch a movie like this in my life. So that's, like, really all it comes down to. Again, like, I guess there might have been some satire and, like, some parody, but, like, I don't care. I just didn't like it. I don't care.
It's a fair point. It actually, he seemed like a parody version of that dude, like, the Iceman. You know, the guy, you know what I'm talking about, Ben. Like, the last podcast on the left talked about him. Like, he was like
contract.
Yeah.
The Iceman.
Oh, yeah.
This dude felt like the parody version of that guy. Because he would just walk around and just either shoot cops or shoot people, whoever. Like, just no feelings or remorse.
He shot a dog.
He did shoot
at one point.
And that, like, kid at the beginning where he, like, opened the door and the child was just like, I was like, okay.
Like, we're opening sequence. One barbecued cat. One kid getting, like, blasted away. Like, where are we going with this?
Yeah, like, why? My question is, like, why?
The dirty
for the filmmaker.
As a person who's killed a baby, sometimes your friend has a baby, and you're like,
that's a very different story.
I'm gonna stuff them into a dryer so the baby, you know, we have a dryer. We can stuff a baby.
So to let y'all know, I met the baby's dad.
Yeah. The baby's dad is the one who places the baby in the dryer.
At the theater, like, watching this.
Yeah.
That was a great experience. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for making that film.
I just wanted to make sure. But, like, no. And it boils down to, like, a level of shock value at that point. And going into this, I had no clue. I never heard of this. I watched this 3 times and laughed harder each time I watched it.
So you pulled the Joe Duff.
So did you watch it with the dub or the sub?
Oh, no, with the sub. Or, no, with the dub.
Yeah,
the dub.
I only watched the English version.
Oh, how'd you guys watch it? Yeah.
Yeah, I only did English version.
Me too.
So I went through both.
Oh.
Just to see
okay.
if there was any significant difference with what was going on, and there was not.
No. And I love it because, and an interesting thing in the overdub with this is that you can tell they're very much like ESL actors. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The English is not the actor's first language. The way things translate in this is bonkers.
Like what?
I just the way some tenses are off, the way you can tell what they're trying to say, but it all feels just slightly like left of center, like slightly fucking. To me, it gives it this weird sort of like. I guess the word would be like this dreamy kind of like context. Like the thing feels like a fever dream. And the fact that some of these turns of phrase don't necessarily click over, it adds to that for me. I don't know. I found this whole thing to be just fascinating. And because it's so over the top, that's why you can't, at least for me anyway, the way my brain works is I could not envision a world where this character is like this character, meaning that like there's no way this is intended to be taken like seriously and like, oh, this is, you know, how a hero is. The whole thing has to be satire.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of guessing. I was like, I hope it's satire. And then, you know, when I looked it up and they said, yeah, it's a parody, I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah, it has to be. It has
But
to be.
do you see where it can come off at times that it's too serious? And I don't know if it's because of the English, the Spanish to English translation, if it's because of the ESL lack of acting skills there for voiceover, but how it can come like, especially as Nicole stated, like with the women beating at like where he's pulling the girlfriend out of the car and just bashing her around and stuff. Like, can you see where that can like, there's ways, you know how to go about satire, obviously, like, you know how to do it. People of that type of brain that don't actually think that way know how to do it. And then there's some things that come across that are just like,
no, yeah,
we can't judge it. Like, it doesn't, if it doesn't come across as satire, it comes across not.
That's how I feel about, you know, that's how I feel about anything like, you know, I even hate talking about them, but anything that the Daily Wire makes, where they're like, we're trying to be satire, but that's not satire at all.
Right.
So,
but people like Ben, people like Trey Parker, even people like that, you can pull that off because they make it just absolutely ridiculous. So this was just made mean at times.
Yeah, I would say that too.
At times, granted, yes. At times, sure, I can absolutely, and more so, I think, and this is okay. Again, this will tell you a little bit about how my brain works. What I saw as being sort of the more intense moments and like the hyper visualized like sort of violence, right? Because from Jump Street, this movie is violent. So all of this man's interactions, no matter who they are with, are going to be hyper violent.
Hateful.
Yeah. So, okay, great. We've established that his physicality with people is to the nth degree. Where I found it was a little harder to sort of decipher was more in the dialogue. Like when he and, okay,
I actually barely remember any of the dialogue.
Bro, I remember so much of it because it is so fucking funny. And it took me 3 times, but by the 3rd time, like I think I really understood what these folks were going for. But I did. There's a point where it's the first girlfriend, and I forget her name, but it's like the first lady that he sort of spends the night with, who's there with her mother.
Her mother comes over like late at night, and she's like, "Oh, I got somebody over."
Yeah, and then he's and the mom. See, okay, all right, and this is also the thing. The mother sets really the tone in this moment for Boogie, how he treats women and how women should be treated. Even the mother says to her, well, don't you want someone who's going to treat you nice? All he does is beat you up, blah, blah, blah. Isn't this the guy that you said doesn't even notice you or barely pays attention to you? And then she goes, but Mom, he just said I look, what is it, like disgustingly thin or something like that? And it means he's paying attention to me. And then the mom's just like floored and in horror.
And he's just at the fridge, just like devouring whatever's like in the fridge at the same time.
And farting as he's going through.
Oh, yeah. And it rips his underpants completely.
So it's like, I think the mother did a good job of sort of setting a tone for like, but this should be your reality, right? As opposed to what you're in turn dealing with, just so someone will tell you that you look disgustingly thin. That's what he says, disgustingly thin. beyond that, it's with Sophia though that I thought that he got mean when he's having.
I mean, that's the plot of the movie, right? I mean, he like tears down this lady so much that she loses all that weight and gets hot, and then she's like, "Oh, my husband actually likes the bigger chicks," and then that's why she's going to be a witness, and that's like the entire rest of the plot of the movie.
But well, you're thinking about Marsha. I'm thinking about when he's with Marsha after they've been. It is Marsha, right?
Maybe. I think you're right.
That's the last one.
Yeah, that's the main chick. But it's that he's out on the road with the entire time. Mm-hmm. That's who he is getting to court. It's in this flashback where he's sitting with her and they're talking about, but Boogie, have you ever loved anyone, Boogie? Have you ever loved anyone? Like, tell me about the last time you had that feeling. And he does that whole big flashback, and he's with Sophia, and they're at the dinner. And I thought this was the meanest. And this, to me, was like the thing that the first time I heard it, I rewound it. Because I was like, I didn't hear that. There's no way I could hear that. And he's talking to her, well, a woman wants a man that's going to, put her in her place, tell her what to do, beat her on occasion. And then he ends the whole conversation by saying, face it, Sophia, you want someone to beat you. All women want someone to beat them. And you're like, I rewound that whole sequence because I was like, there's no way. This has to translate.
No, I had the same thought. I was like, you can just say that. And then he went and talks for a little bit longer and then says it again. I was like, oh, he did say that in the beginning.
No, he very much said it. And then she wanted a light for a cigarette. He's just ripped this woman to shreds. Like literally run her up and down every fucking flagpole. And then he's like, oh, I'll give you a ride home. She's like, I'm not getting in the car with you. Okay, fine, I'll walk. You take my truck. And the truck is rigged with a car bomb, and she blows up. And he goes, you said you wanted a light. And then he just walks the fuck off. So I say all of that to say this. By the third time I watched it, like, that's where it's the punchline to a very horrible joke, but it accentuates, I think, the higher point that these guys are trying to make as far as the joke. And maybe I'm going too far, or maybe, as far as what the satire is, and I'm jumping off a very long bridge and thought about it too much. But I think their point again is that not only is he irredeemable, but when we've had that earlier conversation and the mothers come in and the way he's treated Marsha this entire time and all of these things, like, I think the point is that dudes like that, there is no redemption, there is no change, there is no anything, and it's like it still feels like it's pointing the finger at him, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Feels like the finger is still pointing at Boogie in that moment.
Yeah, I mean, that's how at least I try to feel about the whole show. Yeah, it feels like everything's kind of pointed towards him.
I mean, it's called Boogie, though. Like, he's our lead character. Like, I guess you could argue that, but, like, he's our lead character.
No, but I mean the finger, meaning that, yes, he's the lead. Sure, the story's about him, but what I'm saying...
Like, we're all, like, very intelligent people. Like, I think there are a lot of idiots that would watch this and be like, oh, he's the lead. A lot of people are dumb and don't understand satire. Like, it's just the fact of the matter. And, like, we'll watch this and, like, I don't think they'll think that deeply into it. And that's, like, my problem with it, is that, like, sometimes, like, I guess that's why I don't care about the satire of this. Like, I don't care about the parody. I just would not watch something like this. Personally, people could do whatever they want. This is,
right.
Like, I would just put out there that I do not recommend this movie at all. This is, like, my least favorite thing we've watched on this show by far. Sorry, Joe Duff. Thank you for the recommendation.
Well,
but, like, really, like, Ewoks run circles around this. Shit on Boogie's face. Like, please do, Ewoks.
There's not... and to that end, you're absolutely right. Anything that you watch, there are going to be people that watch Curse of the Were-Deer, and they're going to be like, "Oh, well, let's stuff babies in dryers."
Wait.
Right.
That is
It's like
this
the
is like not
Patrick
at all.
Bateman bros.
We're
No,
sorry,
no,
that
no.
is
But
not-
but no, no, no. I understand, and I totally respect your point. But I guess what I'm getting at is like literally, and as a person who made a difficult choice in doing that, I've already had people tell me that that's the one thing that should come out. And one person even told me, stupid people are going to watch this, and you don't know what people are capable of, what they're going to think, what they might find funny. And like literally, and she's the sweetest lady in the world that said this to me. And I thought it was, I actually found it to be quite profound. She was like, not everybody's going to get the joke. Not everybody's going to see it as a joke. Not everybody's going to understand it. Not everybody is going to necessarily do the right thing after they see something like that. Consider what you're putting out. Consider what you're putting out. So I understand that. And the only reason I equate it to that is because it's the thing that I have done that has generated any level of anybody being.
Well, I actually had
Sure.
a similar conversation once, actually, with one of the Kaufman daughters about Shitstorm, because they were like, "Oh, you don't look at this movie," because they were like, I forgot the extent of the conversation so much, but it was more like, you don't think that people are concerned that this is too overly right-wing, like, political, and I was like, not really. I mean, for me, it was always like, yeah, we make fun of snowflakes and whatever and all that stuff, but also like you're making fun of the higher up Big Al's not, you don't ever see him in a good light ever. Like, he's clearly a terrible person, and we're making fun of them just as much as we're making fun of anything else. And then
perhaps, like, I think maybe the difference is like trauma is very much like, this is like what we make is satirical to like have a social commentary to make a point. And I think Were-Deer does that as well, of being like, this is the point I'm making. Where like, I didn't think that was as clear at all with Boogie. Yeah, and I wouldn't even like put Boogie at all light years near Shitstorm or Curse of the Were-Deer. Both those movies I think make profound, good, like, punching up commentary, where I think this movie was just like, I think they're like, don't get me wrong, I think that there's really good satire produced, like South Park I think really hits the nail on the head again and again. And I think there's, we're gonna punch women in the face and call it satire because that's how we can get away with it, and that's what I think Boogie does. That's
true. And also too, at least with Were-Deer and whatever else, Trauma and South Park, at least that stuff's also funny. Like, I didn't find this movie all that funny a lot of the time.
This one, I think you're exactly right on that. Like, there is no real humor. I couldn't find it. I was trying to.
No.
And I couldn't find it.
I was like, why? Like, what's funny? Like, this cat being hung over a trash can that's burnt. Like, there's nothing funny.
Right.
Like,
as Ben giggles over the...
I know. Like, I don't know. Like, tell me what I'm missing. Like, what is it?
Like, maybe if something like that happened and there was like a sad trombone, or something like that. Like, nothing was showing the satire. It was just showing the mean.
But I will say too, before besides the satire, what it's about, what I did like about it was overall, I did really dig the style of it.
Yes.
Me too.
Yes, me too. The art style is beautiful. I will give it that for sure.
And like I said,
there was so much that we missed with 3D too, because there were so many moments that were meant for 3D that we couldn't experience.
Yeah, and I don't know. I love the style of even having these kind of cool CG backgrounds that also blend in with the actual 2D style of it, and the action scenes do look sick. I think it's like the opening, or somewhere in the beginning, he goes into a room and he like shoots a dude, and the guy's flying in the air, and you just see like the silhouette of holes like through him. Like, that's the kind of shit I dug a lot.
So yeah, I fully agree. The art in this is tremendous. Even from the way the cigarette like is an inch out of his mouth.
Yeah, it's
the
like always
entire
floating
time.
above his mouth.
like, like there is so much style in this. Like, I really do think so. You know what I mean? I think there is a
I think it's the style that attracted me to watch, the entire movie.
I also think there's at least one point where, God, I'm trying to remember where it is. It's I think it's right about the time that he gets stabbed before she sews him up. You're a woman, you know how to sew. I mean, it's like, and to me, those are the things that are absolutely fucking laughable because, and maybe again, it comes from a point of, maybe it comes from a point of like knowing people who think similarly along those lines, like the notion of like, this is women's work, get in the kitchen, what is it he says at one point? There are only two places for women, the kitchen and the bed. And like, if you've ever known like haggard old fucking crusty old just curmudgeony motherfuckers that think like that, you hear that shit and like at the same time you're like, this is ridiculous. As
I think like something that I just like popped into my mind is that like going back to the baby in the dryer and washer thing, 'cause I think that is interesting, is that it's like that is a shocking thing to see, like you know what I mean, like putting a baby in a washer dryer, I forget which one it is, that is a ridiculous visual where like I can't even like wrap my head around, like to have thought of that in the first place, where it's like a woman being punched in the face is like not too far off from something that is like far-fetched from the imagination. Like that's like, and again, like I don't know, like I don't have statistics offhand, but I feel like if you're comparing how many babies are put in a dryer each year versus how many women are like beaten by men each year, it's probably pretty different. So it's like, what is like, you know what I mean? I think
I would really like to see the comic strip because I want to know what this is based off of. Like, I want to see what satire was in the comic strip because it really doesn't. There's a lot of it that does not feel like satire.
Well, yeah. Real quick though, the point that I just kind of wanted to wrap up there is like when you hear these guys say these things, it is so ridiculous. And I guess I come from a place of like I sew, I knit, what is it?
Didn't you knit that hat that you're wearing?
I spend so much time in my kitchen. I do a lot of cooking. You know what I mean? And it's I guess that's part of the reason why I find anybody, and this was made, 2009, right? It's why I think I find anything made after a certain point to be so laughable because those thoughts are so antiquated and so ludicrous, right? Like, that's where, I guess that's where my head goes, right? Because a lot of the guys that I know, dudes my age and younger, like, you cook for yourself, you clean for yourself. A lot of them make things for themselves, their families, all of that stuff. You get and it's not a desensitization, but it's the notion of like, it is laughable because who in their right mind thinks like that? I think that's my point. And
which is what I like to hope that that's what they were trying to go for. Of like, who would think like this person?
Probably not. Maybe I'm giving it too much credit. Maybe I'm giving it way too much credit. Sure. I can also respect that. But at the end of the day, I also think, largely when you consume something like this, you have to have like a level of responsibility in self as well. And not everybody may have that. But not everybody's going to have that when they watch fucking John Wick. Not everybody's going to have that when they watch Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Not everybody's going to have that when they watch any of this stuff, you know?
And I mean, it's also interesting, because now I'm remembering, too, is that it is a parody, too, of the Dirty Harry movies, also. Like, he's kind of, like, supposed to be a parody of, you know, Clint Eastwood in those movies. And so it's like them making fun of that version, too, of Clint Eastwood, which I think is interesting. Of, like, that, you know, because I'm sure Clint Eastwood probably thinks all those thoughts, you know?
Right. And actually, Duff brings up a very good point here in the chat, too. He says they're playing off of stereotypes of how America is often perceived as well, right? I think the only real visual joke, like as far as headlines, right? One of the guys is reading a paper early on. It might even be Boogie himself, but maybe it's a cop. I forget. But it takes place in Newport City, so they're basically just calling America a bunch of pigs.
I mean, and you know,
Newport City.
And you know, we talk about Matt Stone and Trey Parker too, and like when I look at this movie, and then because the same idea goes into Team America: World Police, where that's supposed to be like, it's not like making fun of the cultures that it's actually making fun of. It's making fun of us as Americans, the way that we perceive those cultures to be.
Other cultures.
I mean, but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, and that's
like,
yeah.
You can do it in a way. You can do it in a
job at that.
Trey Parker way that's fucking hilarious. You can do it in a Ben Johnson way that's fucking hilarious. This wasn't.
You gotta
it's
stop
great
blowing,
satire. There is amazing satire in the world. That
blowing up
statement.
my ego here, because the next I've already I've signed on to make Boogie 2 electric Boogie Lou.
Have a great time.
I've signed up for Boogie 2 electric.
Will you please cast me as Ozone or Turbo? I'll take either role.
Done and done.
Thank you.
Done and done.
So yeah, I mean, I see that Joe Duff also apologizes, Nicole, for making you watch this.
Thank you, Joe. I love you anyway. I do not like this movie, but I love you anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, so this was an interesting choice for a movie. But like I said, I really like the style of it. And at certain points, it becomes like the movies, too, that is parodying. Like there's a certain point where the girl gets kidnapped. No, she's running away. She goes to the cop. And the cop's trying to drive away. And he misses shooting the cop. So then he's like in the middle of the road. The cops, they do like that kind of the Western standoff where he's like the cops in the car revving his engine, and then like the aspect ratio changes. It becomes like a full Western for like a minute or two, and then they drive. He misses the shot again. The cop drives off, and then it turns into like almost a Dukes of Hazzard episode where he's like chasing the cop around. They're just like flying over hay and just like soaring in the air, you know. And that was the kind of shit I think I actually dug about it. I just wish it was funnier. That was like,
yeah.
I just didn't find any of it all that funny.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I really am. I'm going to go very far out on this limb. I think a lot of it gets lost in translation. I think a lot of times those jokes don't land because it's not in the native language, right? Because if you... What is it? We've talked a little bit about South Park too. Are there episodes where people where men beat the piss out of women in South Park too? Like, and then famously, there's the episode where Wendy beats the piss out of Cartman, but everybody's beating the shit out of everybody, and she wins that fight. That's awesome. But at the same time, I think if you took that and you take it out of the language that it's in, you translate it into something else, and you get a flat act without like lost in translation is a real thing. So I think some of the jokes probably don't land, and I think it comes across on a level unfunnier because of a portion of that. Who knows? In what do they speak in Argentina? Argentinian?
Spanish.
Spanish, okay. Because I don't know. I know in Brazil it's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Portuguese.
Yeah. So, but if it's Spanish there in Argentina, maybe something is lost in the native speak. And I don't like 100%. Because this is my Reeves John K moment, where like it very much is. I don't condone it, and I don't think a lot of the imagery is great at all. I don't think that the lead is a redeemable character, because the movie leaves you on a note where you think maybe Boogie has found the one, right? But then he leaves her, and he's gone again, months at a time, and she's sitting alone at a table writing notes. You know what I mean? Like, it's he's not a likable guy. He's not a likable guy in any way, shape, or form. He's there to do a job.
And I mean, and I think they like designed him to not be a likable guy, but then it's a certain point of role. It's like, how unlikable can you make a character before you just nobody likes him?
Everything sucks.
Yeah, because there are unlikable people in movies all the time. I mean, Tony Soprano is a horrible human, but you still feel sympathy at times because of how the character's written. So I don't know. Yeah, I guess
it's been done well before.
Yeah.
Like this kind of like unlike like Walter White. Like it's been done well before. I think this is just not done well.
Yeah, that's kind of how I guess I feel about it.
Vince is a television mastermind, though. I mean,
that's compared to whoever made this. And also, I think
in general, like the guy who did the fucking Breaking Bad is an absolute genius.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Breaking Bad changed TV.
Yeah, for sure.
What is it? Is it Gilligan or Galligan?
Vince Gilligan, I think.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I don't know. I look at this and it just feels kind of, and maybe it's a thing of too, since the creator died, that he didn't, maybe it'd be different if he actually worked on it. Because when I read, they said that he was working on it, then he died, so somebody took it over well before it was really getting produced. So I'm curious that maybe there was a funnier, better version of this. And maybe the comics are better.
You look in and dive into it and look at like social media on this film. There was a boycott of this film from some folks that were mad because they like wrote a draft or helped to write the first draft of this and didn't get any credit.
Oh, interesting.
Whatsoever.
I didn't see that at all.
And then they did a second, and I just wonder if that first draft was like there was humor or there was going on. And it wasn't lost in translation. It was just lost in writing or rewriting.
Yeah, and I know that like the comic too I'm pretty sure it was more comic strips. So I'm wondering too if the jokes also play differently when it's like a 4-panel, strip compared to like an hour and 30-minute
a feature film.
Yeah, So who knows? At least I don't know. The one thing I can say about at least the style is really cool.
Yeah.
And I really do dig the action, especially the guy who's got like the I don't know how to describe them. They're not knives, but they got like the spiky things on his gauntlet that he can like shoot out like Batman, or they're like blades.
Oh, is it Blackburn?
Blackburn, yeah. Like that was some cool shit.
Do we know someone who speaks Spanish that could watch this film and give us and be like, this is what it is versus this is what the English subbed and dubbed version is?
Fortunately, our Fernando has moved back to Puerto Rico, so I'll get in touch with Fernando.
Fernando, if you're listening, please watch us in Spanish.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Please, because we want to know. I want to know, because if it's lost in translation, that sucks.
Okay, no, I'll tell you how I know the jokes are lost and don't land. And it comes down to that Blackburn fight, right? At one point, Boogie looks at him, and he's referencing the scars on his face. And he said, what is it? Maybe you can use some of that money and go see a surgeon because you look uglier than the Incredible Hulk. What?
What?
You look uglier than the Incredible Hulk.
That's right.
Because you have a scar on your face. Number one, there are no scars on the Incredible Hulk. All right? There just aren't. Number 2.
And Hulk's not that
Blackburn-
ugly. I've seen Mark Ruffalo. He's a
Yeah,
good
Mark
looking.
Ruffalo was gorgeous, man. Beautiful looking guy.
I love you.
Arguably the handsome.
Well, the Hulk is like not a good-looking character though. But like the Hulk itself, I get what they're saying because the Hulk is a monster. So they're saying you look uglier than a monster.
But
See,
there's no
it-
scar.
There's no.
Well, like
and
because of his scar, he looks uglier than a monster is the joke, and the Hulk is a monster. So I think that translates.
Ah, man.
See, it lost me because, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because if anything, okay, great, monster, got it. And I do see that.
You look uglier
However-
than a monster.
I think though.
He could have called him a Joker. He could have called him Frankenstein.
Yeah, because number one.
Joker's not a monster.
Well, Joker's got
Blackburn-
scars. You know, how do you get these scars? Oh.
He's got these crazy facial scars, and arguably he is a monster. He's a horrible.
They could have called him
thing.
Frankenstein.
You're
He's
a
got
person,
stitches.
but like he's saying you look uglier than a monster, and
A
Hulk is a monster.
Frankenstein. I think that
Frankenstein would be a fair translation too. True. I'm just saying I don't think that saying Hulk was necessarily a poor translation. Like where it's like you don't get the joke. Like you still get the joke, I'd say.
no. But, well, just let me. I'll tell you why it didn't land for me, and why I didn't think it was a joke, or why I thought there was a better thing. Because the Incredible Hulk is large, Blackburn is very small.
Yeah.
The Incredible Hulk is green. Blackburn is very thin, pale, and white. The fucking Hulk has no scars, and Blackburn has half his face ripped off. And there is literally a version of the Joker who has his entire face ripped off. So I thought the Joker would be a better reference. It would probably land better.
Because usually when people call
That's
you
just me.
like the Hulk, it's because usually, I don't know, you're big and you're mad about something.
Yeah. And even arguably, like, even a Wolverine would make more sense because he had the fucking claws. Like, any of that would make more sense.
I guess I'm
thought.
just throwing so much shade at this movie that I'm not willing to give it a lost in translation thing. But
We
like
just
probably
need
just 'cause I'm
somebody
a
who
small
speaks
theater.
Spanish to watch this movie and watch
Yes.
it in the Spanish language that it was intended to be watched in, and tell us
Please
if
tell
this
us.
translates differently.
I just want to
Because
know if
I
it was...
feel like it should. Like I
It-
feel like I'm completely like like I said, I watched subbed and dubbed. They're both the same. It's both very to the point, very dry. That I didn't even realize that when watching it even the second time. But comparing Scar Guy to the Hulk is dumb as hell. Like that, something's missing. It's not landing, and
lot
it's not
missing in this
landing
movie.
more than
Did he
likely
say-
because it's just not translated properly.
Did he say El Hulko incredibly?
El
Yeah,
Incredibly.
did I say
I just watched it with
El Hulk.
saying it with the English.
Like, that's the thing that hung me up. Like in all of the what the fuck moments in this, where like literally rewinding it to did he really say that hateful shit? Is that what he said? I can't believe it. Oh wait, now he's blowing her up in the car. I guess he did. What hung me up more than anything was Incredible Hulk. I was like, this is not about
yeah, that's what hung you up the most.
like, not a good comparison, Boogie.
Alright, well, I don't know much more fucking need to talk about this movie. And Jen says our
There's
podcasts
one thing, because I think.
But
as an
Jen keeps
action
telling
guy-
me our podcasts are too long, Ben.
Jen says that. So the one thing that I think, and I kind of want to get your perspective on it. I know we've talked a little bit about the action sequences in general. How sick was that courtroom shootout?
Oh, that was sick. Actually, when I was thinking about it, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a courtroom shootout before. Like in a movie. Not that I can even think about. So I was like, this is sick. And I love that, like, also, like, the dude started, like, also, like, random people were a part of the mob. Like, the old lady stood up and just started shooting people. Like, everyone was trying to kill the witness. I thought that was hilarious.
That to me was like also a massive sort of like saving grace throughout. And maybe it's Maybe I'm a degenerate. Maybe I'm a terrible person. But the heightened level of like violence in there, and what was it? He said all lawyers were effeminate. I got such a kick out of that too. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but
I was waiting for him to crash the car just straight into the courtroom. Like when they were running late, I was waiting for. I know he does crash it. Like he like runs over where he sets the dude on fire, but he runs over the camera guy and the news reporter and then sets him on fire. But I was hoping they would like crash like just straight into the courtroom. And then crush a bunch of people just like sitting there, you know.
And then she gets out and she's like right there at the witness stand at that point. Yeah. I was expecting that to happen. I was not expecting the news reporter to get lit on fire. I pretty good too.
Yeah, courtroom shootout scene was cool. Like I said, I've never seen a courtroom shootout before ever. So
you know what the closest thing I could compare it to was?
What?
This is the dumbest comparison. This is where my brain goes. Ghostbusters 2.
I don't remember.
Oh, the courtroom scenes?
Yeah.
With the ectoplasm and
then when the ghosties come out.
The something brothers?
Yeah.
What were their names?
I forget their names. Honest to God.
Big Dan would know.
Big Dan would have it locked.
Yeah, I haven't watched Ghostbusters 2 in a long time.
But that's all, like, weirdly, that's it. Like, because I was in the same boat. I couldn't think of another real good like courtroom shootout where people have stuff going on in there, and then it was like, oh, Ghostbusters 2, got it. Okay, that's what this is. Only instead of what is it, the packs, they've got actual guns and everybody's dead at the end.
Everybody just gets murdered, even the judge.
Even when the judge gets it right between the eyes, you're like, there you go, buddy. There you go. Done.
That's one thing that I loved about this film. Like, the things that I could find that I actually really loved were the art style. And when people would die, and they would, I assume it was for the 3D, when people would die in those scenes, like the courtroom scene. And like in the beginning with the Vietnam stuff, and they would just go poof and explode. You know, that was really cool. I did appreciate that.
There was one other great bit in the courtroom when he goes, is there anybody in here left alive? And the one guy goes, I am. And he goes, blam. And the guy goes, thank you.
Yeah, I do remember that too, actually.
I mean, again, like, it's sprinkled with moments. The whole thing overall is questionable. But there was another. Have you guys seen Yellow Submarine?
The Beatles movie?
thing?
Yeah.
No, I'm not familiar with it.
There was a direct reference to some of the art style where Boogie, he's having that flashback. This is what I was trying to get to earlier, but then I got wrapped up in knitting, and so he's having that flashback as she's getting ready to sew him up, and maybe it's when he's in the cab on the way, but he's also going back to a better time, and his better time is during war, and it's this like hippie 2D style sort of animation that's going on during that, right? But there's a scene where he's sort of halfway bouncing across the screen, and then the rainbow of the jungle is like coming out of the back of him.
Yeah.
And like that's a direct rip from Yellow Submarine. It's
That's
a
cool.
direct rip from that like 60s, 70s style sort of stuff.
Well, all right, Ben. Well, what are you giving the show? What are your final thoughts here? What else do you got to say?
Well, one thing I will say real quick. There's a kid in the chat tonight, Cody Snyder. Cody is giving us nothing but facts. He says if we want to see a courthouse movie, Stone Cold in '91, it goes down at the courthouse, is what Cody's got to say.
Shootout fight scene.
Write that down now.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cody.
Thank you.
Loose.
Does it star Chuck Norris or Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Find out soon,
Was
buddy.
it made by Canon?
Yeah, was it a canon film?
anything canon does is gold. So final thoughts, man. Listen, this isn't for the faint of heart. I'd say go into it, should you choose to, with a grain of salt. Clearly not for everybody. Clearly there's a lot of, and not to minimize it, but to put it in a digestible sort of term, there's a lot of bad behavior from the lead in the movie. A lot of questionable, unforgivable things that he does, that he says, attitudes and thoughts, all of that fun stuff. I would still say it's a success. I don't know. I watched this 3 times. I watched it 3 times, and yeah, I don't know. It's a spectacle.
Well, you and Joe Duff have that in common.
But I see why he did, though. That's the thing. That's the fucked up part. I can see why Duff watched this. Maybe not in one day. I didn't do it in one day. But yeah, no. For me, it was a success. I don't know.
All right. Well, Nicole.
Success.
What are you gonna give it, Nicole?
I am giving it an E. I don't think that's surprising based on how I've been talking about it. Yeah, this movie did piss me off, clearly. What I would say to I've said what I have to say about the film. What I'd say to the audience is that you have a beautiful life, a God-given life that was given to you, whether you believe in God, the universe, whatever. You have maybe 100 years, if you're lucky, on this planet. Don't waste a second of your life watching Boogie.
Well, those are some good final thoughts there, Nicole. Liz, what about you? What do you got for us?
I'm also in the yeah. But is it the worst film I've ever seen? It's not. Is it for it? I want somebody to watch it who understands Spanish, and I want it to be I want it to be salvageable.
Explain this
somehow.
to me.
I want it to actually be satire, and I want it to be lost in translation. But in my heart, I don't believe that it is. Just to be honest, I believe that it's just very mean-spirited, and I think you're right, James, in that this was made to be short little jokes, short little offensive jokes in comic strips. That doesn't translate into a full feature-length film. That said, the art is amazing, the animation is amazing, the what was meant for 3D is so fucking cool, and I wish that I could see it in 3D. I hope, I want it to be that it was just so lost in translation that it came across mean-spirited. But this is, I feel like it's like we were talking about it earlier. People could watch this and be of a bad mindset, or be of a mindset that's not able to understand satire, or able to get past it and bro this, or see this as something to emulate, and I don't like that either. So there's going to be that for anything. There's like I said before, there's Patrick Bateman bros. There's people that are stupid about satire. But this in particular, it's so not funny that it could be taken very seriously.
Yeah.
So I just, it's a no for me. It's a yes if you really like animation, if you really like artwork, and you can get past that. Or if you speak Spanish, go for this film.
Yeah, I mean, Liz, you kind of summed up the best. I think that, I would like it better. I think when it's not funny, the satire is just mean. It's just now you're just doing it. You're not making a satire of it. You're just physically just doing whatever the thing you're making fun of. And like I said, a lot of times I feel like it comes off as an excuse. Oh, we're doing a satire, but you're just trying to be mean. But for me, I just love the art style. If it was funnier, I would like it a lot better. But the art really what made me watch it for an hour and a half was how awesome it looked, and the action scenes were awesome. And I'm an easy person to please in that, right? Where just give me a bunch of explosions and bodies flying everywhere and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna give it to Derek.
I was wondering. I was like, which one's he going with here?
Yeah.
Not like the other.
Because I was bored. I mean, wow. I just really I was like, I don't know. Yeah, this is especially we talked about the dinner scene earlier. We talked about beating the lady because he said it once. I was like, they say it fast. I was like, did I just hear that? I was like, nah. And then he said it again. And then there's also something he called the lady in the beginning of it. And then she comes back later. She's like, oh, you compared me to this thing. And then they say it again a couple more times. I'm like, I can't understand what the word that... I literally had no idea what they were comparing her to. It just didn't make any sense to me. So I just didn't find it all that funny. Except I did like the cigarette thing, where it's just always kind of floating above his face a lot. Because the design of it is just so good. I really, really appreciate this style a lot. Yeah, but ultimately, yeah, it gets that old Derek.
I want to say, though, this was a great recommendation because this conversation was great. I think it was very polarizing, the movie. So I think this was a worthy recommendation. I really appreciate that. The conversation, which, someone could make the argument that for great art, it is kind of polarizing.
Yeah, polarizing.
So
or bipolar.
I wouldn't say that, but I think someone could say that about this for sure.
Yeah, it's a really bipolar kind of movie.
Yeah. So I appreciate the recommendation for sure. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you for that.
Joe Duff. Thank you, Joe Duff.
Yeah. Worthy of discussion for sure.
Duff, next time you're at the house, we'll sit down, we'll watch Boogie together.
There you go, that's perfect.
We'll tell all these people where they're wrong again.
You gotta get somebody who speaks Spanish.
Yeah, if you do happen to watch this
and watch it versus the English version.
All right, so we're going to do a spin-off.
If you are a Spanish speaker and you do happen to watch this and you want to let us know and you want to transcribe in a more Americanized version for us, you can. And you can send that to totally.toonular@gmail.com and let us know if it's funnier.
All right, well, Ben, thought you going to ask me something?
Nah, man, you're just going to straight up tell us what we're watching next week.
Because, next week. So, and actually it's kind of way polar opposite to this, which I didn't plan it that way, but I just thought about it as the show was wrapping up. I kind of picked something that's kind of the opposite of this. But, did you know, so we got our Spotify wrap-up list, right? And it said that our top episode of the year was our Harley Quinn Valentine's Day special.
Oh.
So, I figured, let's talk about Harley Quinn Season 3, because we have not talked about it at all. And, to be honest, I watched it a while ago, and it kind of went completely over my head. I honestly, I don't know why. I fucking love the show. For some reason, that last season, I don't know why. Maybe if I rewatch it again, I'll actually, I don't know, something about it will click. But, I don't know, Liz, have you watched this at all yet, Harley Quinn?
This is me being this Batman snob. I only give a shit about Harley Quinn in the animated series.
See, that's what a lot of
just that Harley Quinn. I don't give a shit about any other Harley Quinn. I don't give a shit about James Gunn's Harley Quinn. No offense to him. I love him as a filmmaker. I think all of it needs to stop, cease.
The Harley Quinn show is amazing, though.
But I will watch this for you. I will watch this for you, James.
It's super R-rated, super
loves
gross.
Any and all Harley Quinn, so there's that.
I think
that's just me being an old fart and a Harley Quinn purist. I want Batman the Animated Series, Harley Quinn. That's where she came from.
I mean, that's the
where
best.
She needs to be.
Yeah, but it's not just me. I mean, you guys like the Harley Quinn show too. I mean, this is our fourth time around talking about it.
Yeah. I have really enjoyed watching it and talking about it, so I'm looking forward to next week for sure. For sure. I'm not as privy on Batman though as you guys are. I feel like I kind of got into it later on in life, so I'm a little bit, just a different story.
I love Margot Robbie in anything other than being Harley Quinn.
Well, in this show, it's the chick Kaylee Cuoco who plays Harley, and she produces it too.
She's from Big Bang?
No, Big Bang, and 8 Simple Rules and stuff, whatever else she's done.
I do like her I do personally really like her as Harley Quinn.
I don't know, I've been talking this show for years, and I'm glad that people have finally started watching. Like, I was on a set recently.
I'll give it a run.
No, you gotta watch it. And yeah, before I close out, I was on a set recently, and I brought it up, and it was the first time I literally had a room full of people be like, "Oh, you watched the show?" I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, I've been like championing this show. I mean, Ben knows. I've literally been championing this show since the DC app days, and now finally people talk about it.
James gave me his DC app login. He said, "You have to watch Harley Quinn if I'm going to give you this, but you can also watch Swamp Thing. But you have to watch it, so I have somebody to talk to."
And it's great. It made Two-Face Sum 41 fan, and that's what warms my heart.
That's all you care about. It literally, like.
Maybe that's why I didn't love the third season so much.
There was less Sum 41.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I know, for me, the season kind of dragged a bit. I said it kind of went over my head, but maybe I'll feel different next week. So
I did like it though because in this one, if I'm right, they bring in Teffy, Swamp Thing's daughter.
Yes, they do. Yeah, she's an intern, or they're an intern in the Legion of Doom, I believe.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty chill.
Yeah, I remember some funny bits, but I don't know. It all kind of went over my head, so let's see how it goes this time around. All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Thank you all. Thank you, Joe Duff.
Thank you, guys.
Stuff, Cody,
Bye, everyone.
Steeler. Thanks for hanging out, y'all. Enjoy it.
All right, peace out.
Bye.
You guys, this is all Kyle's mom's fault. Shut up, Cartman. Kyle's mom is the one that started that damn club, and all because she's a big, fat, stupid bitch.